doing Overwatch. You're doing, was it creative? Or it's programming. Yeah. Tutorial. Programming. Alright, cool. Teaching Gamemaker Studio 2 tutorial. Feel free to ask questions. Update information. Alright, technically we just went live, so that means anyone that does join us can hear you. Just putting that out there.
Hello, we are spooky lads.
Yes. Spooky lads.
You having a fun time trying to move that?
Oh yeah, I forgot you can see the screen.
Okay, for some reason, by the way, like it keeps telling me to update my profile, and then I do that, and then it's like, we're sorry.
What happened to it?
Try again later. And I'm like, but why?
Oh, you mean like log in? Wait,
Yeah.
I was having that earlier. It seems like just a bug with the login system for Gamemaker. Just try to reopen it and it should be fine.
Curse you, Gamemaker. Giving me these issues that I don't need.
Follow stream sidebar. Where'd the folder go?
Can I help you?
Ah! Takes this page. I'm already forgetting where the sidebar went. Stream bar, stream sidebar. Yeah, but I had a folder. Where'd the folder go? Is he assessing to replace because it already exists? Wait. There we go. Okay, give me. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and post in Discord as well.
Alright. Do you have in mind a beginner project?
I do. Well, we probably won't do the project until the next one. I just want to go over basic stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll give you guys the first project that we did with the other people that are learning Gamemaker.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time finding this chat. Okay. Dev streams. Any streaming some Gamemaker tutorial.
How long is this session going to be?
I estimate like an hour.
Okay, good.
Give or take some. I don't want to keep you guys for too long. Just want to get you guys some basics to go off of.
I've got some assignments to complete in like 5 minutes that I can complete in 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Alright, so we should be good. We should be live. I'm going to check my OBS. Looks like we're good. Alright, cool.
I'm trying to fix this, but I can just watch for now, so.
Well, hold on. What are you trying to fix?
Like, it's not... It just keeps saying I need to update my profile, and I'm like, yes, I filled out everything.
Oh, like on the actual Gamemaker website?
Mm-hmm. And I keep saying we're sorry, but something went wrong. I'm like, why?
Wait, can you, like, show me what's going on? No one else is going to see it but me and you. And, like...
Yeah.
It's like, right? Did you see my screen?
Yeah, we see it.
And then... I'm waiting for the error message. Now it's just frozen. Not like that's any better.
Yeah, that's kind of odd.
Oh my god. Well, we're just gonna...
I guess you don't need a username. From West Virginia.
Born and raised. Anyway.
I am from North Korea.
Oh. No, you're not.
The one person that has access to the computer.
Doesn't matter. See?
Yeah, sorry, but something went wrong. Please try again. Please wait a few moments and try again.
That's
If this
dumb. And so
problem
that's
persists,
preventing you from shut up. That's preventing you from logging into GameMaker, like the actual application.
Yeah, because like here, I'll show you.
That's pretty dumb.
oh, that's pretty meta.
And I'm like, okay, download now.
Session not found. Oh, that's familiar. I had that yesterday, or not, like sometime
I
before.
have to log in, right?
Yeah.
And then I log in. Yeah.
That's weird. Because I thought you did that earlier before.
Yeah, I did. So I'm confused.
There could just be something wrong with the login stuff right now, which is the big suck. Yo-yo games.
I have an account, so I don't
You
understand.
can't like open it from like what's it called, like offline mode or something.
No. You have to log.
Oh,
That's not right.
And it keeps telling me that I need to update my details in order to continue. Like, I can't log in. I can't. I'm like, you have all my information. It's not hard. I just fill out where I live.
looks like it's working for me.
Hmm.
I'm able to get in, log in that direction.
I don't know why it's not letting me like update my profile on Yo-Yo Games.
Yeah, that is really odd. I guess this is something you should have figured out beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it'd be fine. I high-key thought I would be fine, but
Yeah.
I've been meaning.
And have you opened up GameMaker before on this?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Like Aaron, you showed me some stuff on GameMaker,
Yeah.
so that's why I don't understand.
Weird.
Yeah. That's how I feel. So, I guess I will. I mean, you're just showing us like some beginning
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah, like what sprites, objects, rooms, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's okay. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. First of all, what do you guys know?
Nothing.
I know
Nothing.
sprites, like to the T. So
Yeah.
objects, I know somewhat. Rooms, I've never touched.
All right, so we'll go through it real quick.
And I know
those three
scripts because you
things.
told me.
Yeah. So sprites, as we know, are images. When you're naming things, I always like to put what type of asset it is before. So like sprites would be SPR. It just stands for sprite. Let's just use on like sprite player.
Oh, like the acronym. Okay.
Yeah. This just helps for like, let's say I'm creating, and I want to reference that sprite. I would do SPR, and then there it is. Because what if you had a player that's both an object and a sprite? GameMaker, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two.
I see.
But anyways, to be honest, I haven't used GameMaker 2's sprite editor too much. I just tend to hit import and like, oh look, that's the image I want. Yeah.
Yeah, the editor within the GameMaker is not that good. It's honestly very unintuitive.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I noticed you. I mean, we draw the sprites on a different program, and then we just give them.
Yeah.
And I assume like Aaron like imports them.
So the most important stuff with this is just masks and the centering, and also frames. Okay, so like for instance, this has 4 frames now. So each frame, GameMaker calls this an image index, and that's important for later. So this sprite is a sprite index, and then these are image index. Sprite index, image index. The centering is important here. So whenever you draw a sprite, you get an x and y coordinate, which that would be right here, in this case, 0, 0. In most programming languages, your x is positive this direction and y is positive downwards. So 0, 0 is always the top left corner.
Okay.
And I think that's the same for most art programs too, right?
I mean, I don't
Like
look
with
at,
a
like,
sprite, well, at the bottom it typically shows you like coordinate
I mean,
stuff.
I don't tend to look at a coordinate plane when I draw.
Oh really? What
No.
about you,
You
LG?
mean a pixel? Wait, you talking about like pixels?
Pixel
Like
coordinates in paint.net.
Oh yeah, I occasionally use it whenever I'm trying to be precise, but
Yeah.
usually it's only whenever I'm copying and pasting, like making sure I can flip it correctly.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I don't particularly use it because it's not that important.
But anyways,
I do understand the whole centering thing.
Yeah. So if I centered it there and I drew the sprite, that's where it would draw from. Yeah. But if I centered it up here and I placed it in the room, then it would draw from that point. Draw all the way. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? It's not too hard to understand. I could show you real quick, I guess, with an object. I'm just gonna draw it real quick, so you kind of get an idea. So I'm gonna do draw sprite player. So here's the sub-image that we were talking about before. With Gamemaker, when you're or just any language for the most part, the first one's always 0. So this one's 0, 1, 2, 3. So we're gonna call image 0. And I'm just going to place it at 0, 0, so at the top left of the map. So in this map, I'm going to pop in this object and just run it real quick. Can people on my stream see it when I run it? It looks like not. Oof. Let me fix that real quick. There we go. Boom. Okay. So you guys can see it, right?
Samus is not okay.
Not okay. So I drew it right here, and that's where the center of the sprite was, so this is what we can expect. But let's see if I center it just in the center here. Center is right in the center. The center is in the center. It's kind of a weird way to say it. Now you can see it drew like this. So that's we spawned it on 0, 0 here. So y'all get what's going on there?
Yeah.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
In the one question, as because I was copying everything you did. In draw sprite ext, what's a call? Like there's like the last like the second last thing. I did draw sprite ext. What's a call? Like column? Is that what that is?
ext. Cuts color. Yeah,
Color.
I'll go over
Okay,
that
so it's 0.
in a second. Yeah. All right.
1. Okay, sorry.
So,
yeah, I know some extra stuff.
So objects are the important ones that we're going to be going over. So you saw when I had this room out, you can go back to your resources and just pull in. For instance, this is the object I was pulling in. Just pop it right in. I'm going to delete the old one. Whoop! It's in the room now. This is basically what people will see is this room. So in your objects, the important stuff related to code is the events. So whenever I drew this, I put it inside the draw event. Anything you want to draw should be in the draw event for the most part. But let's go over the different events. Create. So this is the code that'll run when the object first spawns. So this is good for initializing variables. So you could say like x equals 500, y equals 500. You can place this right here. That'll modify where it is in the room, for instance.
How big is the room? Wait, hold on. I just realized
I didn't set the size. I just created a new room.
Okay, 500 would be like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think the default size is like 600, so it should be way down there. Oh, it's complaining that it extend to. Yeah, but the x and y is not going to change the sprite because we're still drawing the sprite at 0, 0. So let me draw the sprite at x and y real quick. So now you can see, now that I modified the x and y, I guess this is where 500, 500 is, right about here. But anyways, so that's the create event. The next most important one is the step. Step and draw are both broken down into step, begin, and end. Really, this is just an execution order kind of thing. So basically, the step event happens every frame, both the step and the draw. Step and the draw are basically exactly the same. The only difference is that Gamemaker handles draw functions a lot better inside the draw event, and processing is a lot better handled in the step event. So if you had some kind of large, I don't know, like a for loop that goes through a lot of data, you'd want that in the step, but then if you want to display your sprites or images, then put that in the draw event. Alright. Let's go over variables real quick. What kind of variables did you have in your programming language, LG?
Well, actually, it's about as you expect. If you basically typed in something like x equals something, it'll automatically set up the variable in the code, regardless of how you.
Okay, so you don't have to do like int or doubles and stuff?
Or var.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to prefix it with anything.
Okay, that's pretty nice. It's pretty much the same in Gamemaker. Whenever you type in a variable, so let's say HP, we'll say that's the health or something. This automatically is saying, hey, this variable is for this object. Let's say object player. So now object player has health. And we set that as create event, so only for the first frame, it initially sets it to have 100 health. So I could, if I wanted to, go into my step and say like, okay, if HP is equal to 100, you know, like, hey, we got max health, you know, something like that. My point here being, like, I can access this variable inside this script even though I initially called it here. So this variable can be used anywhere inside the object player object. But then there's 3 other types of variables that are important, and that's being globals and vars. Let's just start with globals here. If I did global.hp, or how about global dot, what should we make a global variable? Trying to think of a realistic global variable to set. How about global.money? Like, the money isn't just for the players, for just everything. If I had global.money equals 100 as well, the global means I can do it anywhere. This sets it in the code, it doesn't make it specific for any object or script. So if I create another object, and you don't have to do this, I'm just kind of showing. And if I tested if global.money equals 100, this would work. This wouldn't throw any error because I set it as a global variable. But if I tried to call, for instance, HP, if HP equals 100, then it's going to throw an error because HP hasn't been set inside this object yet.
Hey, every now and then you cut out a bit.
Do I?
Like just like, yeah, every now and then.
I'm going to reset the voice thing again.
Can I help you?
Hopefully that should be better.
Hopefully.
Alright. I'm just going to get rid of this object. We don't need this guy anymore. Alright. So the other one is a var. Just do maybe var I guess. So var means local. Where global means you can do it anywhere, var is the complete opposite. You can only place it inside this current script. Once it hits the end of the script, basically this variable disappears. So I could not do something like var I equals 0. You know, I couldn't test it here. And you can actually see the reason why. What?
What's the difference between HP and var I? Like
HP is an object variable and I is a local variable.
Okay. So vars is exclusive to the specific little event script that you're working with.
Yeah.
And HP is exclusive to the object itself.
Mm-hmm. The color is a good indicator. If it's this blue, that means just a normal variable or an object variable. But
if it's purple, it's like everywhere.
Yeah. If it's, what was it, global dot? Yeah. Any global. Well, you'll also be able to tell because it says global before it. But
right.
yeah, if it's purple, you can use it anywhere. But yeah, the yellow ones are the local variables. So you can see all these are yellow now. Alright, so Gamemaker is nice. There's only 3 types of variables. There's no like double. I guess we should talk a little bit about data types. And there's really only 2. I've only been using what's called reals, or sometimes you would call them integers or doubles in other languages. In Gamemaker, they say these are reals, real value numbers, I guess.
Okay.
Whereas this would be a string.
Ah, okay, strings. Yeah.
Yeah, anything in quotes. There's no such thing as a character. In some languages, you could do
MATLAB.
Yeah, most languages, anyways. In most languages, you could do single quotes for a character.
I personally hate the whole character thing. I have not found a use for it in MATLAB, and it pisses me off that I have to pay attention to it.
Well, I mean, strings are just an array of characters.
Yeah, but see, the thing about characters is that they screw up basically some essential things that I want to do, and they're just the fact that I have to pay attention is mostly just what's pissed off of.
Yeah, so it's nice. Gamemaker is also nice in the fact that I could just type name equals 10 instead. I don't have, like, all of a sudden it's a string. Well, now it's an integer. Gamemaker's fine with that. You can do whatever. I don't recommend doing this, though. There's not really many situations where you want to do this. And
well, because the point of doing it right before is meaningless.
Well, I just mean, like, display this string.
Well, I mean, like, the way you showed it, it was just like, what variable is this? Okay, now it's this immediately without doing anything.
Well, I just mean in general, not just this specific example.
Okay.
But anyways, variables.
Oh, that's an important question to ask. So in the case of object variable, let's say you make an object, let's say in the create script equal 100. And then in the step event, you also make it. You make it like 50. What takes priority? At first, in like the first frame.
First frame create happens before everything.
Okay.
In fact, it can happen in the same frame, whereas step might happen in the next frame.
You cut out. Say again.
Create happens immediately. And the step may not even execute until the next frame.
Yeah, your voice is cutting out quite a bit.
Pretty crappy. Hold on, let me see if I stream, or what output am I doing this? So, hold on, stop sharing screen. Share screen. What if I lower the, which just did 1080? Like, is it a connection thing?
Not sure. I don't know.
It looks like I got a spike earlier.
I'm not even sure it was really due to lag.
I would feel more it's your actual mic.
Oh. Let me look at my Discord settings, because it could just be here. Automatically detects sensitive. Here. We'll just have it transmit everything.
Hear all of Aaron's background noises.
Oh, can you?
No, I can't. I'm being sarcastic.
Just transmit everything. Hopefully that'll be a little better.
Oh God.
What?
That's not. Wait, no. Never mind.
Is it just like super loud now? I'm confused.
No. There was a point where it was just weirdly lagging, but you seem okay now.
I don't know if it's like my internet or if it's the voice box thing.
Right now you're fine.
Yeah.
I would think this internet could handle me streaming TL and streaming to Twitch.
You're at UH internet, right?
Cullen Oaks, which is still pretty good.
Okay. Ooh, careful around there. Dangerous.
What do you mean?
People get robbed there all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not actually joking. Like I'm actually serious though. Like
I mean, you're near Scott Street.
I think that's the area that gets robbed the most.
I'll have to look at that later. Okay. So, any questions? Huh?
Yeah, pretty
God,
weird
that
cut
was
out there.
really bad.
I don't know. Like looking at Discord. Oh, I'm seeing these huge jumps. Here, like
in any case, if what you were asking,
can you guys look at the stream and see if it's the same? Like, because it might just be Discord.
Honestly, every time I've heard it, it's always been from you specifically, not from the stream.
Are you listening to both?
No, I don't want to pop it up. I'm bored.
well, I'm not listening to the stream. I'm listening to you. So
Yeah. I guess I'll restart this thing again then.
what does that do? What does voice meter do?
I don't think he can answer until he's done with that.
Oh.
I gotta wait for that thing to finish. Voice meter lets me do this.
Is that what's compromising your voice quality?
No, it's probably just yes, in a sense. The one I have to restart this for it to not do that like jittering thing that you keep talking about.
Yeah.
It's just my mic sucks in general too.
It's your mic. I swear it's your mic. It's a webcam mic.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Well, it's his mic.
Has a beast computer, crappy mic.
Yeah, what's with that?
You haven't, and the weird part is that you haven't replaced it ever.
Yeah. I really want to get these Diva headset with the
You're
mic.
talking about Gamemaker. I'm still just trying to wrap my head around like the different thingies.
Different thingies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like the different variables or different
yeah.
events. Okay. Well, as stated, the blue one, the object variable, that one is only defined within the object. So the object is like what you're currently working on. The object player. Every script and event you add, that variable will remain constant all throughout. But if you make another object, let's say object enemy, it will not use that variable. In fact, it will completely ignore it. So it's as if it never existed. The global dot variable basically is present throughout your entirety of your project. So if you make, let's say, equal to 100, no matter what object you open, what script or what anything you open, as long as it uses something, global.hp will remain constant throughout.
Okay, then what's with the
and var is only specific to the event. So notice how he's in the what's it called? I can zoom in there. Yeah, okay, he's in the create script. So if once you make that, it's only present in the create script. The draw script, let's scroll down a little bit, or step script will not have that.
Yeah,
because
see
it doesn't
how it's blue instead of yellow? This is telling me, hey, this is an object variable, which this will throw an error since there's no object variable that we set I equal to.
Yeah. So
weird to me.
Yeah, it is kind of weird, but it is useful.
Yeah. It's like, hey, object player.I.
I get what it's.
That doesn't exist.
In general, I get what it is, but like if I definitely can't automatically
yeah, it's one of those things you'll
I
figure
get
out.
it, but
yeah,
it's just when I get used to it, I'll get it.
Yeah.
Basically,
but I understand.
I mean, basically, these are the variables you want to store information in, and these are the type of variables you want to just do calculations with.
Okay.
Because, for instance, if I was going through, I don't know what to think about it. Okay, like if I'm adding things together, I could have just like total equals 50 or total something. I don't know. But I could be going around using I to add everything up and then put it into total reverse. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good example that with what y'all currently know. It's just a temporary variable, a variable that you don't want to actually store information in long term.
Mm.
And it's really just to save on space, efficiency and stuff. You will notice though that these variables are like green. Green variables are ones that the object has. So every object has an x and a y position, for instance.
Okay, repeat that.
Green variables are object variables, or I guess it's not a good word.
They're essentially inherent
Yeah.
properties. So like x, manipulating the x or y variable will affect its position.
Variables. What are they called here? Okay, built-in variables. That's what they're called. Every object has a ton of built-in variables. It's like you can see here I have the HP, name, and total, those variables I set as part inside object player. But there's a whole ton of built-in variables. Like each one gets a unique ID, the object index 0, so which object it is. So in this case it was object player, so just 0. X and Y location, just a whole ton of stuff. Its current speed. A lot of different built-in variables. So you'll know if they're built in if they're like green, for instance.
Okay.
Alright, let's do some basics of coding, I guess. So like number manipulation. With like, what did y'all use to like add numbers and subtract? Like, is it pretty basic with your programming language? Like, for instance, HP is equal to 5 plus 10. You know, you just add.
Yeah, that's basic. Nothing really weird comes up until you start working with arrays and stuff like that.
Okay, so most programming languages use math, pretty basic math formulas for.
The fact that you say most implies that there's one that doesn't.
I mean, yeah, pretty much
that's a
every
scary
programming
thought.
language. There are some weird languages that probably don't. You would use something like add, maybe 5, 10, like that. But anyways, basically, if you can do it in math, you can do it in Gamemaker in most languages. So I could do 10 plus 20 divided by 30. Yeah. How much math have you done, Lily?
I've done up to stats for sciences.
Nice. So you've done college algebra and like did you do Cal?
Way past.
Yeah, way past. Okay. So then you're probably pretty good with math in general.
I mean, I'm okay.
Decent.
Like, do you know what an integral is?
Yeah.
Good.
I mean,
okay.
Not
I
that you'd have
done that.
You don't need integrals for
I haven't done that
computer
for a
science.
while, but like.
No, it's a good benchmark though to see where you are. You don't really start getting
I've
it.
done integrals. I was good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I probably don't need to tell y'all much about math.
Please don't.
I can add 1 plus 1. Don't worry.
Yeah. But with programming languages, you can do this. It's basically just shorthand.
Sorry, with Gamemaker you can do that. With MATLAB,
That's
they
true
don't
with
give you the
MATLAB.
pleasure.
So basically, plus plus is the same thing as adding 1. So at this point, if I just had this, HP would be 101. That's all it is. It's shorthand for plus equals 1. And speaking of, plus equals is a relative. It means it's gonna add 1. That's pretty much all it's saying. It's gonna add 1 and store it into HP. Likewise, you got HP minus equals, HP divided equals, HP times equals.
So for something like these are really useful for something like a while loop or a for loop, where you want to ever increase it every time the code runs through.
We'll get into loops.
Oh, sorry. I know I've been through MATLAB. I'm so used to using those terms without really.
All I did like in anything relation to coding was like in the summer when I did web design, but that was like literally cramming things in a month.
Oh, okay.
Limited knowledge.
I had a computing for engineers, and then I had a mathematical processor, which forced me to use MATLAB. I'm kind of used to at least these basic principles. I know.
I mean, all I did was HTML and like some CSS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's just basically shorthanding it. Like the most basic case would be this. HP is equal to itself plus 1. So it's the same thing as this. HP plus equals 1, or HP plus plus. It's just good little shorthand stuff.
Okay, can you repeat what the first line means?
This arrow is not me. I'm just trying to show you it's the same thing.
I mean, oh.
Okay, so like this one.
It's just weird seeing the plus next to the equal sign.
Okay. Yeah. So it's basically just shorthand. Instead of having to write HP twice here, we're just saying we're gonna add 1 to HP and just store that inside HP. So HP in this case is gonna equal 201.
You probably should not use double equals so that you don't confuse.
Well, okay. HP.
Doesn't that I think that necessarily means that HP is true.
Yeah, that's what I was implying. We'll get to that in a second as well. So
that's just to say you added 1 to what HP already is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, every time the code it passes through this code, it will do exactly that.
Yeah. All 3 of these are saying the exact same thing. It's just adding 1 to HP. Oh, except for this one, because I missed it. So is that making sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 All
right, the next.
All right, so
Fine.
So this is variable manipulation. We need now to test what the value equals. So at the end of this, it's going to be 103, I believe, if we're adding it correctly. 1, 2, 3, So if we want to test the fact that it equals 103, we could do like if HP is equal to 103. Now what's nice about Gamemaker is you don't actually need double equals like in other languages. You can just put a single equals. So this is basically, does this variable equal this number? And in this case, it's going to be true. So when the code runs, this is what it'll see. It'll change that to true, and basically if it's true, it's going to run this whatever's inside. If we said something like 105, obviously no matter what happens, this is always going to be false. So nothing's going to run. It's not going to run this inside here. Let's see. So let's just do a little example here. So if I did 103, I'm going to call the show message function. Yeah, it works. So the show message function just basically displays whatever you want inside a little text box here, and you'll see in a second. It works. Oh, the stream can't see it, but that's okay. So it's just a nice little way to test your code. So if I set this, I need to get rid of this stuff again. Let's get rid of all this for now. So if I set this to 5, obviously it's not going to equal 5. So it's never going to show up. It didn't work. But then you have something like the else statement. So you could be like, it does not work. So if it equals 105, it works. But if this is false, then it's going to go into this else statement. So it's going to be like, it does not work.
That makes sense.
Yeah. These are what's called conditional statements. If else.
Yeah. I read that.
Yeah. It's typically nicer to put little parentheses around. I personally don't do this. Like, this is like the professional code way to do it. I just think it's too long. Like, I personally do it just as less content as I can. And I just like to do it like this. It just looks, to me, looks like a lot nicer and compact. But you can do it whatever way you want. Like, that's up to you. Like, if you want to do the way you're supposed to do it to make it all nice and neat. It's whatever. I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life.
Yeah, here. Don't tell me to live my life. Fuck you.
So let's just say I wanted to test something else again. So else if HP equals about 103, then it's sort of, let's do like, it sort of works. Then we could put the else back over here, I guess. So you can basically chain these if-else statements. It will work. So it should be the middle one. Yeah, it sort of works. So basically, it's going to just keep looking at each statement. It's going to keep going down. If it's 105, it'll do this one and then skip the rest of these. If it's not that, it's going to look at 103. And if it's not, then it'll skip down to here. If both of these fail, then it's going to show this, of course. That's like, y'all good with all this? I assume this is pretty self-explanatory stuff.
I went through this part extensively, and
Well,
Matt,
I just don't know
mean,
Lily's understanding of it yet.
I understand the conditional because someone was explaining
C++ to me one time.
Okay.
And they talked to me about what conditionals were, and I understand that.
Did y'all go over like ands and ors and stuff?
We did, but I cannot remember.
So, for instance, if we wanted to test if HP is 3 and my name is Aaron, then do something. It works basically like English language. If this is true and this is true, then it runs whatever's inside here.
Okay.
So then you got or. Again, just like English, if this is true or that's true, then we're going to do this. Then do this. Do this. There's other ones. You're not going to really use this one too much, so I'm not really going to go over it. There is one other one that's important, though, and that's the not statement, which is represented by this exclamation point. I wonder if you can write not. Oh, you can. I guess you can write not. I've never used not. I always use exclamation point. This just means not. So if this ends up being, okay, in this case this is going to be true, right? Because 103. The not's going to make it false. So it's basically just to invert it. Works. Not the word. I guess we'll just do true and false. That makes more sense to me. So it should be false, yeah. Without the exclamation point, it would be true. Basically just inverts it. Alright. Do we want to go over for loops and while loops?
those are pretty fundamental.
Yeah.
How long has it been?
Like 40 minutes.
Unless you have something else more fundamental than those two.
We'll do those two, and then like a little bit of drawing, just so y'all can start. Because that's like what y'all are. Y'all are artists.
That cutout was real strong.
Huh?
That was a oof. That was a major oof with the cutouts.
Fat big oof.
I don't
It
know.
was very, very huge. Everything that was important in the sense it was cut out.
Maybe I should. Here, what happens if I just said to push to talk? Shoot. Wait, can y'all hear me right now? Can y'all hear me? Alright. Testing. Okay. Maybe this will be better, I don't know. Oh shoot. Oh no, I just clicked get cracking. Gosh dang it. Yeah, let's go over while loops real quick. So just like the if statement, while is another type of conditional. So you know the if, it accepts true and false statements into it. The while loop does pretty much the same thing, but it's going to do it until the condition is false. So for instance, if I did HP is greater than 50, as long as this is true, this will keep happening inside here. So I could do, for instance, HP minus minus. So basically it's going to go, okay, it's 103. 103 is greater than 50. Y'all can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Just making sure. 103
We're
is greater
just
than...
listening to you.
Yeah. And then so it's going to decrease, 102. 102 is greater than 50, 101. 101 is greater than 50. So it's going to keep doing this until this is false. So in this case, what would HP be by the end of this? Do y'all know?
Oh, say again, sorry.
Do y'all know what this would output?
Let's show message HP of 50. Okay, I have to just is greater than 50.
So
So for as long as it's greater than 50, okay.
yeah.
So that means it's gonna show 50.
Yeah.
Because the reason why is because it's gonna keep minusing itself over and over again until it is 50, until it's below 50, less than 50, and because it doesn't say less than or equal to, it's gonna be 50.
Yeah. Nice. Do you understand that? Why it's 50?
I just don't get the HP minus minus.
Oh. Minus equals 1. Or equals HP minus 1. Basically, minus minus means we're going to remove 1 from HP.
Yes. Okay.
So subtract 1 each time.
Each time until it's 50.
Yeah.
Well,
Until this is false.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. It's a conditional
Yeah.
kind of thing.
but it's a special type of conditional where it loops every time until that case happens. In a normal if statement, it would just pass right through
Yeah. Okay.
if the condition wasn't met.
Yeah.
'Cause
So
this
like,
is while.
what
I see.
would it be now if I showed the message?
Well, 52.
52. The only thing I switched was while to if.
Yeah, but like if HP is more than 50, HP minus minus. But before that, it's total is 50. Sorry, HP is HP is 100. Whoops.
103 since we edited it 3 times.
Sorry about that. I was paying attention to the 50 and I thought it was on there. It would be 100. It would be 102
Yup.
because it would only go through it once.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I see. I
So this goes, yeah. So now this would go like about 53 times until it is. Although is that inefficient, that while loop? Or does it not really matter because of how fast that goes through?
I don't see what would be inefficient about it.
Well, having it loop through like 53 times when you could have just accomplished this by. I mean, you could have accomplished the same task by doing something else.
That's true. No one would ever do exactly this. The only other case would be if you're like actually doing something here. Because if you're just decreasing the value, then you would just do HP equals 50. That would be the shortcutted
Optimal
way to do that. That'd be the optimal way.
But if you use it as a counting number, you could just.
Yeah. So like we could do total. I don't know. I have a variable called total. Total plus equals HP or something. Like, total would start being a really large number because it would start at 103, adding it to total, and then 102. So you get a really large number.
Please don't ask us what that will be.
No, I don't expect you to know what that is. 4,131.
Just offhandedly lists the number.
Come on, guys. Quick math.
Come on, guys, I do quick maths.
Alright, so that's while loops. So for loops are pretty much the same thing as a while loop.
Wait, What loops?
While loops. We just did a while loop.
Oh, no, the second thing.
For loops.
Oh.
What? Is my
Okay.
voice breaking?
No, it was fine.
I'm just not understanding what the word you're saying is.
For FOR.
Oh, okay. See.
Yeah. So
It's basically a term. So like, while means while HP is over 50. For is it's basically like literal English for
yeah.
for this
For
condition.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. So a for loop is basically the same thing as a while loop, but with some added pizzazz. So here's where the vars come in handy. Let me just write this out first, and then I'll explain what's going on.
The cursor's in the way.
Oh, is it?
There you go.
So what's going on here? So, as I said, it's similar to a while loop, but you have these other things. Let me make it exactly the same as this one here. HP, just so we kind of can relate it. HP minus minus. Alright, so this first section here, you'll notice, well, first of all, you'll notice it's split into 3 sections separated by these semicolons. Here, I'm going to zoom in so you can kind of see a little bit. This first section, it happens once. As soon as this for loop happens, this code runs. So in this case, we're setting HP to 103. It already is 103, so this really is unnecessary. But
if it isn't necessary, what would you do? Do you just like just
well,
not
I would
include
have
it?
done a while loop then, because there's really no need to
Oh,
set it.
okay.
In most cases, when you do a for loop, you're typically going to do something like for variable
You basically set
I,
up a new variable for that
Yeah.
particular spot.
and we want I to go from 0 to 10 perhaps. And that's what you do there. I'm just trying to relate it to the example we just used here.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, this will initiate first, and it'll never run again. It's just going to run one time. And then it's going to go here. This is what's the conditional part of it. So if HP is greater than 50, then run this loop. That's the while part of it. Once it hits the end of this, then this code runs. So, you know, it's going to start. It's going to be 103. Is it greater than 50? Yes, run this. Okay, let's subtract 1 from HP. So now it's 102. Is 102 greater than 50? Okay, let's run it again. Subtract, test, run. Subtract, test, run. So it's just a little loop.
So basically, instead of relying off of the while loop until you reach the conditional statement, you could have a limit on that. Instead, it runs for however it runs basically until you hit. Well, no, that's not true. It basically can manipulate a variable as it's going along, and that variable is basically what's determining the while loop,
Yeah.
and the for loop.
So in this case, I wrote the exact same thing twice. They both are going to do exactly the same thing. The for loop is just basically a neater, more organized while loop, if you're using it for this kind of purpose.
Let's see.
Because you notice how less lines. That's sort of what I guess determines code organization. If you can reduce the amount of lines it takes up,
Yeah.
the more essentially efficient it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
that
like
makes
in both
sense.
cases, they both set HP to 103 initially, then they both enter the conditional, and then they both run code afterwards. In this case, HP minus minus.
Mm.
You know, and then code goes here in both. But yeah, so that's while and fors. That's pretty much all the conditionals. There are a little bit more conditionals. For instance, there's something called a do while, which I never use, so I don't even want to teach you it.
Say again?
There's another kind of while called a do while.
And what is that?
It's
Just
basically
briefly
the
describe
exact
it.
same. Okay, well, basically, it doesn't matter what the conditional is. It's going to run this code first, and then check.
Ah, okay. So it's inverse.
Basically,
Runs the code. It doesn't really.
expected 299.
I guess it could work if you sort of wanted to run on the very last thing. So like, let's say it reaches your expected amount.
I forgot.
What?
In Gamemaker, they call it do until. In most programming languages, it's do while. But yeah, in Gamemaker, it's do this until this condition is false.
Okay.
But again, I don't really use this too much, and you probably won't be either.
It's really just a while loop, but the order of operation is reversed.
It does it first and then checks, and then if this is true, then it'll go back and run it again.
Which is useful if you want to, let's say, have the variable at the very end operate. So let's say it reaches all the way down to 50, where in a while loop it will just stop. But in a do until, it will still show that last message. It'll still show it.
Oops. Did this? Wait, no. HP should.
You have a for loop, dingus.
Yeah, but this doesn't. The show message is before the for loop. Why did that?
Okay.
What? This is confusing me. Hold on a second.
Okay, whatever.
Again, I've never done a do while in Gamemaker ever, so.
in that case, let me just flush that from my memory.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't really think it's worth bothering you guys with it, seeing as I don't ever use it. Alright, let's just go over one more thing, and that's functions.
Anything else?
So for instance, this show message was called a function. You can see at the bottom, Gamemaker is nice. It's like, hey, here's what it does, or here's the parameters. So you see it's string. That's what str means, string. So they wanted you to put a string in there. Well, show message is nice because you can put a real in it as well. Because you see I'm just putting HP, which is a real value. But it's typically a string, so you could put like hello. Yeah, it's gonna show message hello. But anyways, this is called a function. If you ever want to know what a function does, just middle click it, and it'll be like, okay, well, this one apparently doesn't have any help info on it because it's so basic. But for instance, the while loop. Here's all the information on while loops.
Yeah. This is recorded, right? Like
the
stream.
The stream is. I wonder if I can pull the stream off and upload it to YouTube or something. Because I know Twitch just like deletes things after a while.
I think you can. Because I'm just saying, because I'm probably gonna rewatch this.
Yeah, no problem. Let's just quickly go over some of the drawing functions just real quick, and we'll end it there. Because y'all are here for art. Y'all are the artists.
Yeah, dude. We drawing shit.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Sound like Aaron Cartman.
Let me pop in an actual image that's not.
Use any one of ours.
I know.
Oh, yours.
Player. Let's go to player.
I know what I said.
I've just an actual drawing. If you think about it.
Don't use the GIFs. Use the strips. Idle.
Yeah, where's idle boy? Player idle.
Idle is to the right. It's strip 8. Down.
This
to the left. There you
go. Alright, so this one's got how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, cool. And then we're gonna put the center. How about bottom right here?
Oh yeah, so that's why in all animations I've ever had any one of my people do, I always ask them, and they don't listen, to put at the end of the name strip number. So take a look at SPR, like let's say idle. Notice how it says strip 8. That is the amount of frames that exist within it.
Yeah, if you got rid of that, let me just show an example. If I got rid of that number, boom, it loads it in as a full image. But if in Gamemaker, if you put strip and then the number of frames, it'll run a little algorithm to split it up into an actual animation.
Yeah. So emphasize to all the future animators that will watch this,
yeah.
And to emphasize to my own animators, please, for the love of God, name it that. It's
name it what again?
Where were you?
The strip.
Yeah, I know. I'm just waving.
Don't be mean. I hate you.
Don't be
already.
don't be my other animators.
You only have.
Alright, so
Yeah, too.
let's say we want to make an image for this object.
But it's been all of them, really.
So I just made. Let me get rid of the draw bin real quick. Alright, so you can see I just made this image, like the object's image. And if I play the game, you should see it. Yeah, there it is. So this image always is going to display in the X and Y wherever the object is. So I placed the object right here, right where my mouse is. Sorry for the stream, you can't see it, but right where
Yes,
the butt of him is. Right here. So and I guess I could move him. I could be like, okay, if I put him at 200, he's going to be more left now. There he is. Stream catch up. Okay.
Weird thing I'm having right now is that my draw code isn't really working. Like, it's not showing up on when I put it in, despite the fact that I put it in the room.
Get rid of the draw code just in general. And I'm going to tell you why that works. Just like delete the event draw.
Okay. Delete. Okay.
It should show up now.
Ah, that's dumb. Okay.
Yeah. So in Gamemaker, if you don't have a draw event, it's just going to draw this image where you put the sprite. But if you do have a draw event, basically the draw event's going to assume you want to override this. If you don't,
Repeat that statement.
when you do a draw event, it gets rid of the automatic drawing for the player. If you want to do it still, you would just do draw self, and that'll still draw the player.
Which would basically be meaningless, though.
Yeah, yeah. If I just had this script, well, there's no point, because if I just delete this, it automatically draws. But yeah, so if I comment this out, it's going to be gone, because I'm no longer drawing myself. But yeah, again, if I delete this, then it's going to automatically draw this character, and boom, there he is.
So why did my draw ext work? I did specify the location to be about 50 pixels, so it would have been at the top left of the screen anyway.
Yeah, well, because you're telling it to draw it. So,
yeah. So why didn't it?
Well, I don't know what you're...
So basically I did
the draw ext code to me. Let me see what you wrote.
Well, it's I deleted the event as you told me to. But basically, all I did was draw ext sprite 0, since that's the first sprite I created.
Okay.
And then I typed out the rest of the stuff.
My guess is you put 0 for alpha, which would make it invisible.
No, it's not.
No?
There's 1.
Huh.
Color 0.
Color -1. 0 is black. That's my bad. I think I said that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the reason.
You drew black on black. Okay. So let's go over some of the basic draw codes. Let's do draw line. Pretty basic. Let's do it 100, 100, 200, 100. So this will create a line that's horizontally 100 pixels. But here's going to be the problem first. Oh, no, never mind. No problem. You can see it. I was gonna say, I thought I was gonna draw it black, so I was like, well, that's gonna be a problem. So like, there's a line, easy peasy. If we want to change the color, we would do that before. Draw set color, see red, for instance. Boom, red. So basically, every time you change the color, anything after it will be that color until you switch colors again. And this is true even if I create another object and start drawing lines in that object. It'll still be red because I've never changed the color. So pretty much every time you draw something that has color, always set the color before it. For instance, I could start drawing more lines. We'll do this one. Different Y values, 200, 300. So now we got 3 lines. They're all going to be red because I never changed the color. We could also do rectangles. Pretty self-explanatory. Let's do one at 0, 0, 50, 50. You'll notice this last one says outline. So that means true for if you want it to just be the outline. So it'll look like that. Or false I should mention this. True equals 1, false equals 0. So when I write 1 here, I'm also writing true. I probably should just write true to make it easier to understand. So I did outline true. That's what we saw. Outline false just means it's going to fill it in. So if we wanted to be really cool, we could create a for loop. Let me do this real quick. I is less than, let's make 20 squares. So this will go from I being 0 to I being 20. It'll just iterate through it until it hits 20. Let's draw a bunch of rectangles. So the x position will be I, the y position will be 0, about I times, wait, we want to separate these rectangles. So let's say the separation is like, I don't know, 20. Let's make it 20 as well. So the first iteration I will be 0, so it's going to be 0 times 20 is 0. The y position will be 0. Should we make, I guess we'll make the boxes 10. Let me just show you what that looks like first. Oop, I forgot to get rid of this first rectangle. Alright, so created a bunch of rectangles. So should be 20 rectangles. So we're drawing each one 20 apart. So for instance, I equaling 1, this would be 20, whereas the x position is 20 plus 10, so 30. 20 to 30 on the x coordinate. And then every one is 0 to 50 in the y. So you can create some kind of cool stuff with this. Let's just make them even squares. So they're each 10 big, right? So yeah, now they're each 10. We could get really fancy here and do for var p equals 0. P is less than 20, p plus plus. So basically the same thing as the other for loop. And this time let's apply p to the y position. So p times 20, p times 20 plus 10. And what do you think this is going to do? Any idea? I mean, I'm kind of jumping into being a little advanced here, but if the x column made them all horizontal like that, what's this one going to do with the y?
Vertical.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so I'm just going to get a big grid.
Big grid boy.
Ah, it's hurting my eyes.
Well, that's
No,
what happens when you
Aaron.
make stark neon red and on adjacent to black.
Yeah, on black background.
I mean, so this is the kind of stuff, cool art stuff you can do later.
Get it off the screen.
I don't expect you to be able to do that kind of thing right away, but like I'm just saying, that's the kind of cool stuff you can do with the simple draw rectangle. Alright, let's do a couple other ones. Draw a circle, easy peasy one. How about straight dab in the middle of the screen? Pretty self-explanatory. It's the same thing as a rectangle, but instead you have x and y and then like a radius. Every time I'm talking about this, look down here and you'll see what we're talking about, x, y, radius. So x, y, radius. So it should be a pretty big circle. Yeah. There he is. Good old Mr. Big Circle.
Big circle boy.
Let's change the color. Let's do like sea aqua. A nice little, yeah. It's not as my eyes are bleeding. Alright, so there's your basic shapes. You will notice that each one, if you make a little underscore after it, they have other stuff. So for instance, you could do a width. Width will add an extra parameter to make it fat. So let's say I did a width of 5. So now you got a fat boy right there. See, he's pretty fat.
Fatter boy.
Oh, he's getting fat. He's got 10 now. Yeah. So basically just added functionality. If I did let's change this, they're all widths now. Let's change this one to color. Color is pretty nice. It lets you switch it between two colors. Let's say sea aqua to sea red. Oh no, we're going back to red. This one's gonna be fat boy too. 10. So just a nice little thing. Hey, aqua to red. And then what if we want to combine the two? Let's do width color. Now it's width and it's color. Yeah, it's just little stuff like this. Just lets you add more functionality to the already existing, for instance, line function. And the same thing with circles. You can do some pretty cool stuff with circles. I guess it's the only one cool thing, but it's still pretty cool. Let's do sea aqua to red again. Boom. Oops. That's gotta look at the bottom. Color 1, color 2, outline. And we got a pretty nice little circle. I don't know, a lot of cool stuff you can do. If we want to draw one of our images we created, we would use draw sprite. And that one has, so we need to tell it which sprite we want to draw, which image. In this case, it's image 0. We don't have, I guess we do have other images. If we just did image 0, for instance, it's just going to pull that first one. And then a room position. So let's put him straight in the middle of our circle. Why not? There he is. So real quick, back to our default drawing guy here. All this going on here. There's a bunch of built-in variables that dictate that. So sprite index, for instance, is which sprite it's using. In this case, we're using sprite player. So if you ever wanted to change what sprite it's displaying, this is how you would change it. So we could make another sprite. We could, how about let's import Earthy Boy. Get in here, Earth Boy. He doesn't have it. I know. Just, oh wait, haha. Alright, so if we switch this to be Earth, I probably should give it a name. Sprite Earth. So this code, just that alone, will switch him to be that index. Or is that, yeah, that's sprite index. We could also set image index. If you remember before, image index is what frame it is. So let's set him to frame 0. Boom. So you see he's not moving anymore. We could set him, let's do it back to the normal player. It's a little bit more prominent with him because Earth just basically moves up and down for his animation. Alright, so now there's no animation, and that's because every time this code here runs, right before it we say, hey, frame, it's going to be 0. That's the frame we're on.
How many times does this code run?
Every
the
frame.
draw event?
Every frame.
The draw event? Okay.
Yeah. Step event and draw event, exactly the same. It's just you're putting draw stuff in the draw event. So another one that's important that goes along with these two is image speed. This one should be pretty self-explanatory. It's the speed of the image. If I make it kind of a low number, I get rid of that. It should go slower. Yeah, it's a slow boy now.
Hey Aaron, if I wanted a sprite to animate real quick in like the draw event,
Okay.
let's say I have draw sprite ext blah blah blah. How do I make it animate again? Because the image speed's not doing anything.
Yeah, so there's a number of ways we could do that. If you're doing draw sprite, I would recommend setting a variable. So like let's say image index equals 0. And then we could go in here and say image index plus equals and whatever your speed you want it to be. And then you could plop that down into here, into your subimage slot. Boom. Now this guy's animated. So basically, this image index is increasing every frame. And let me do a draw text real quick, just so you can see it. 500, 500, image
So for
index.
so for the sub image, I would just put that there.
Yeah. Just let me make it black. Draw set color. See black. Yeah. So this is the sub image going up. You will notice that it just goes up to infinity. That's because we didn't cap it, but it really doesn't matter. It looks at it like modularizes it. So for instance, it's 8 frames, right? So frame 9 would be the same thing as frame 1. Yeah. So that's why this just works nice. If that sprite that you're drawing, like you're doing like a draw sprite extent, right? If that happens to be the sprite that represents the object, you could just use image index, like the actual green one, the object variable, the built-in variable.
Yeah.
And that would work too.
And basically the speed would be 60 frames per second.
Well, the speed would be whatever you set image speed to.
Oh, okay. So that just seems like a better way of doing that instead of setting a variable.
But the thing is if you had multiple sprites you wanted to draw, they would each need their own image index. You'd have like image index.
I see. So just make it a habit of doing the variables.
Yeah. Well, unless it's again, if you're drawing just whatever is supposed to represent this character, this object, I would go ahead and use image index. But like for instance, if I wanted to draw like this guy has a head sprite, a body sprite, an arm sprite, for instance, I would want a different image index for each one of those. For the head, for the body, for the arm, you know.
Right.
In that
something
case,
like individual. Well, I guess I wouldn't say individual objects because it just occurred to me that would be for individual. Let's say characters. Image index would be appropriate.
Yeah.
So like let's say a player, since it's all parent player, I guess is.
Mm-hmm.
They would all have image index because it doesn't particularly matter.
Yeah.
But they're different.
Yeah. So let me draw an image index. Like the image index right now is doing the same thing that the original image index object variable we were using was doing.
Do you go back to it? The code. Do you need to set sprite index to something, or does before you do that?
This one?
No,
this one here. No,
yeah.
you don't need to do that.
Okay, good.
Because the initial
So
variable,
it's just image speed, and then you use
like image index is this right here. This is whatever you set it to initially. So in my case, image index is sprite player.
What's my default room speed? It occurs to me that room speed is a different.
Here's another little coolness for you. Instead of writing image index, you can actually write -1. That just means pull image index. It's going to work exactly the same. -1 a lot of times means use default value. Which is why when you do draw sprite extent, and you have the color value, this one, that can be -1. Which means don't apply any color stuff to it. Rotation would be 0, X and Y scale. But whatever. Image index. Image index does look a lot nicer if you write it out. Alright, well I think that's about all I want to do for now. So I want you guys to play around with it.
Here, I can show off what I've done.
Yeah, go for it.
Camera under well, I didn't mean to. I don't want camera.
Do you mind if I put your camera on the stream?
Yeah, sure. This is hilarious. Alright.
Is this
full screen it?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, you see it? Okay, I'm
Yeah,
gonna play. I had a little extra something for hilarity.
Ooh, he's getting bigger. Can you tell Lily what you did?
So basically, I did something very simple. I just made it image speed 0.3. It's very arbitrary, to be honest. I wanted to do something extra, actually, in a couple seconds. So sprite 0 is the coin, which is just simply a four frame animation.
Mm.
It doesn't matter where it's centered. Then I have it set to image index, so it does the whole animation thing. This is draw sprite ext, by the way, so it has a little bit of extra functions beyond just draw sprite.
ext means extended.
So it has a sub image, x position, y position, in relation, of course, to where you placed it. X scale, y scale, which x scale and y scale are set to size 1. Size 1 I set up here in the create event. That way, the first frame of its being is at 1. So that way, its scale ever increases every frame. I mean, by 0.1. So that's how I made it continuously grow bigger. The rotation stays the same. Color -1 because that's apparently the standard color. And alpha being transparency is 1. One extra thing I wanted to do really quickly is do something fucking 1, and then have this.
Oh.
And that should do something kind of funny.
Oh. Hello. Hello there.
Just
There you go.
increasing in speed.
Oh, on the video I see the image of the coin is frozen onto the monitor.
Yeah, I see that too.
That's funny.
Forever embedded.
I guess I will give you guys a little assignment. I showed you guys a bunch of different drawing, like line, rectangles, circles, all that, and then sprites. How about you guys try to create a little scene, like a picture? And I'll detail this in a second, but using those functions, try to just make something creative or cool. Like basically draw something for me, make a little art. And try to incorporate at least like a while loop somewhere in it, or like a for loop, one of those. Something that would normally be like a repetitive thing, you could use a while loop for instance.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
And that we could do that for you guys. Wanted to try to meet Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that.
After of course our D&D's thing.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget about that, Aaron.
Yeah, I won't.
Have you thought about what kind of character you want?
I haven't really known.
Okay.
You guys are doing D&D.
Yes.
We're such nerds.
Well, remember yes.
I used to do D&D.
Oh
Yeah.
No. I mean, I like being a nerd.
Hey, Lily, you remember last semester when I came to the group, what's it called, the
Yeah,
CAC?
I remember.
Yeah, and there was a group of people that were setting up D&D. That's the people we're doing it with.
Oh.
We've been doing it since.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
We just started doing it this last Saturday, and we're gonna keep doing it.
Oh, but Aaron's never joined, huh?
He did last semester. Around the somewhere like middle of it, he joined in.
Do you guys physically meet up?
Yeah, we physically meet up with the group.
Dang.
Before it was at the dorms for Paul.
Oh, that's
And
so
now
nice.
we're doing it at his apartment.
Oh, that's really nice.
We decided to start afresh this time around. Project create art. Use line.
Oh, you guys can see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
To create.
When I played, I just did it online.
Okay.
And then.
So, I mean, it's because I played when I was younger. That's why.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's not in. Not many people our age or that at that time were into D&D or knew what it was. So.
Oh, yeah, pin the message.
Yeah, I only got introduced to it, and same with Aaron last semester. So I think it was pretty good to do it in person. That way, I actually knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, I'm glad we're doing this.
I have a good track record of never dying.
But that's no fun.
We'll see what happens.
Don't worry, I'll try to kill you next time if you want.
Because
But we play from neutral, by the way, just to say. So Aaron just like wants his character just to dive right into chaotic evil or something.
That was my first character, yeah. We'll
He
see about
wanted
my
to-
second character. Again, that could
kinda
be
wanted to kill
some other
everyone.
weird, mysterious character. Hi,
So-
they're great.
Real clue. That's a nice little
What?
picture you got there for your. She sent me her profile for her D&D online thing.
yeah. Do you like
Right.
the 115 hours?
I'm gonna stop the stream right now.
It's nothing compared to my Team
I'm
Fortress 2 hours,
Probably
but
gonna
yeah,
play
that's a lot.
Overwatch and something later, but for now, I'm just gonna end this one.
Yeah, get the
see you guys later.
boxes.